we have this idea in society, I think a lot of gentlemen have this idea that everything needs to be absolutely perfect before they can take the next step in regards to marriage or children. And I get the desire to do so. However, if he's financially fine, but maybe he's not the happiest in his career, how long could that particularly take for him to find another one? 2 years, 4 years, 6 years? You're 40 years old and then hoping that maybe you can still have a child if you desire children in the institution of marriage. So if you were to tell me, if your response to me, AJ, was, you know what? He's not making the money. He has a plan of how he's going to get another career and how he's going to pivot. Then I would say be patient and let's see how this goes. Again, if he wasn't happy, wasn't making the money, and had a plan to pivot, then I would say, AJ, let's give him the time. Let's see where this goes, right? But if he's making the money, which is the deciding factor on if you can afford the wedding, he's making more money than in the original dream career, then that means that there is no reason why the two of you cannot set a date and cannot move forward. Him not being happy. So what does this mean? 5 years from now, if he's not happy in his career, then what? Then your relationship suffers? Like, we're never going to have everything perfect. So if he's doing well financially, that means he can afford the wedding, which is what you guys agreed to 6 years ago, then he needs to execute on that. And him not being happy in his career right now is not an excuse to not plan a wedding. Because there are going to be other times in life where you're not going to be happy, and that's not a reason to not move forward in other areas. So you're not happy in your career, so now you're holding off in your romantic life. Hello, beautiful people. I hope all is well. I hope all is well. Welcome to the Single Session podcast with Align with Alison. That's me, Alison Wellington, and welcome to the show. Look, we have created a space that is different from the quick takes that you might see on Instagram or TikTok. We are actually doing live coaching sessions on this show so that there can be some real feedback and some legitimate next steps so we can come up with a resolution and not necessarily the cutest hot take. So how does this whole thing work? Well, with the podcast, we do a session together. I'm going to ask a series of questions so that I can uncover what the issue is. And then my hope is that our guests are able to walk away with solid next steps as to how they can resolve the issue that was presented. I want you to kind of think like the show Frasier or Quiet Storm. It's a call-in old school radio vibe where people are getting real legitimate help from a certified dating and relationship coach. We have Tukes Productions, who is on the helm, and we cannot forget our episode's sponsor, Knox Brand Media. She is the go-to brand coach for 6- and 7-figure millennial entrepreneurs. And be sure to listen all the way through to the end of the episode for a special promotion. Now, let's start the show. So for today, we have AJ on the line. She has been in a relationship for a few years now, and she's wondering whether or not she's wasting her time. So AJ, the mic is yours. Tell us what is going on in your relationship.
Okay, so hi everyone. I have been with my man for 10 years. We've been engaged for 6 years, and we had an agreement that once he gets into his career that he chose, that we would get married afterwards. Long story short, he got hurt while he was in his career of interest last year, and that kind of crushed his dreams. So besides that, so now he has another job. I'm also going to school at the same time. So I'm a dental hygienist now. I've been doing that for 6 years, and I am going to go into another program next year. So we have a condo together. We did buy it, and I asked him if he was going to pay for everything, which he said he will when I am in my program next year, but he's not always been a man of his word. So I'm wondering what I should do now. Should I wait for him, or should I not wait for him? Because then that's another 2 years of my life. We said we would plan our marriage in 2 years, but I'm also 30 and I do want to get married, and I do want, to have a family. So what should I do?
Understood. Thank you so much for sharing. So I was going to ask how old you are. I'm glad that you gave us, because that's going to be a very important piece of information. You've been engaged for 6 years. He said once he was in his career and solid and financially solid and secure in the career, then the two of you would actually set a date and get married. He became injured. As a result, he's had to shift. Is he happy in this new shift? Is it just as financially sound as the original career, or is it just something that's paying the bills?
It is actually better, like financially for him, but he is not like, like too happy. He's not really content about it, but it is in a way like paying the bills.
Okay. I'm glad that you added that part. And let me tell you why that's not important. We have this idea in society, I think a lot of gentlemen have this idea that everything needs to be absolutely perfect before they can take the next step in regards to marriage or children. And I get the desire to do so. However, if he's financially fine, but maybe he's not the happiest in his career, how long could that particularly take for him to find another one? 2 years, 4 years, 6 years? You're 40 years old and then hoping that maybe you can still have a child if you desire children in the institution of marriage. So if you were to tell me, if your response to me, AJ, was, you know what? He's not making the money. He has a plan of how he's going to get another career and how he's going to pivot. Then I would say be patient and let's see how this goes. Again, if he wasn't happy, wasn't making the money, and had a plan to pivot, then I would say, AJ, let's give him the time. Let's see where this goes, right? But if he's making the money, which is the deciding factor on if you can afford the wedding, he's making more money than in the original dream career, then that means that there is no reason why the two of you cannot set a date and cannot move forward. Him not being happy. So what does this mean? 5 years from now, if he's not happy in his career, then what? Then your relationship suffers? Like, we're never going to have everything perfect. So if he's doing well financially, that means he can afford the wedding, which is what you guys agreed to 6 years ago. Then he needs to execute on that. And him not being happy in his career right now is not an excuse to not plan a wedding, because there are going to be other times in life where you're not going to be happy, and that's not a reason to not move forward in other areas. So you're not happy in your career, so now you're holding off in your romantic life. He's making the money. That means the two of you should be able to afford the wedding that you planned and you discussed. That is not a reason for him to hold off. Now, he's in the new career. Did you talk to him? Did you say, babe, I know we said blank, but now we're in blank. What is the plan for the wedding? Did you talk to him about this, AJ?
Yes. So he said that I wanted to get married next year, but he said that because he has to pay for everything while I'm in school next year, then that's why we have to get married in 2 years.
Okay. And I'm assuming 6 years ago when you became engaged, you also did not plan and budget in the school thing. The school plan was something after the engagement plan, correct?
Yeah, we got engaged and then COVID happened and then I went back to school and then we are like, okay, maybe I should wait until, we should wait until after I'm done with school. And then now that I'm 30, I'm like, okay, I think we should probably get the ball rolling, start planning.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you this. You had an original plan. You have now added an additional expense to that plan, which is going to school. He is being kind enough because he's not obligated. Even if he were your husband, he's not obligated to pay for you to go to school or to pay your expenses while you're in school. So we should be thankful for that. You've thrown a monkey wrench into the financial plan. So I think that at this point, you need to have some flexibility, AJ, meaning that perhaps you scale down on the wedding so that you can have the wedding when you want it and then still be able to have his financial support while he's in school. Or you're putting off school. But I don't think that it's a fair expectation that we had a plan that he was going to be contributing significantly to the wedding. Now we're here. He has the money, but now we threw in the monkey wrench of school. But I don't want to. You can't have everything that you want, AJ. So you have to decide, are we going to scale back the wedding so that he can then afford to fulfill his word in regards to covering the finances while you're in school? Are you going to have the wedding that you initially planned and then hold off on school? But I would not hold him accountable for both of those expenses at the same time, especially when that was not the original plan.
Yeah.
What do you think?
That's another thing too. I wanted a small wedding, but he wanted a big wedding. So that's another reason why we're waiting.
Okay. Now, with the 2 years, does he have a hard and fast date? Did he say, babe, I know you want to get married 2024. let's do it April 2025? Like, is it clear as day? Do you feel confident that he means it when he says 2025, or do you think that he's BSing you on that 2025 date?
I feel like he may be BSing me. That's another thing.
Okay, so this is what I would do. And I know that we're pressed for time, so let's see if we can etch out some more of this. But for this particular issue, if he's serious about his 2025 date, I would say, okay, babe, let's move forward with 2025. Let's get the caterers. Let's get the venue. And if he starts he's going to have to put a price and put a date on it, right? So if he says 2025, okay, babe, let's go with 2025. What season are you thinking? Spring. Okay. What month in spring? May. All right. Which Saturday in May? Okay, let me call some of the venues and see if they have May 24, 2025. Let me see right? Like, if you start putting the pedal to the metal and saying, all right, baby, what date do you want? What does it look like for you? I'm going to call around. We're going to have to put deposits down. Then you can see if there's any legitimacy behind this May 24th, 2025 date. I'm throwing a number out there, right? Let's see if there's some legitimacy. If he says, I don't know what season, and can we just hold up? Why? If you are confident in 2025, and if you are confident in marrying me, then let's move forward and pay the deposits and let's go. I would say we need to see how serious he is. And if he is serious, he says, let's choose this date in 2025. Let us put the deposit down for the venue. Then I would trust his word. But if he's not doing that, then I wouldn't. I do want to touch on something else that you said. You said historically he hasn't been a man of his word. How has he proven to you that he's not a man of his word?
Just a lot of little things. You know, when I ask him to do certain things, it will take him a long time to do it, or I will end up having to do it.
AJ, that's men. I'm telling you, they're their own human beings, obviously, right? Like, we want them to be their own human beings. And so they do things on their own time, which is normally not ours. But what I'm talking about is like heavy things, like if he promised something, not, babe, can you clear out the garage, and he does it a month later. I can tell you, for my husband, I asked him to clean out a closet for our baby when I was 6 months pregnant. He didn't do it until I was 9. Like, that's how they roll. But I'm talking like real heavy stuff. Like, is there something that he really disappointed you on?
Well, we also have been talking about our future, about how I want him to provide. And we've gotten in arguments about it because right now we're 50-50. Mm-hmm. And I told him that I can't be doing everything. If we do have a family, he's going to have to provide. Well, I'm going to be working like part-time. So we're going to be solely like focusing on his income. We've gotten into arguments about it.
Okay. So what I would say...
That's why I'm not sure if he's going to provide next year when I'm in school.
So what I would say, regardless to whether or not he's serious about 2025, and even you, AJ, who's pressing for a 2024 date, if the two of you are not happily on the same page, I didn't say on the same page. If the two of you are not happily on the same page about what this split looks like, you should not be walking down anybody's aisle in anybody's year. If the two of you cannot happily come up with an agreement as to what the finances should look like once the two of you are married or have children or have a family, and even that can still potentially change. But at least in this moment, if the two of you cannot happily say, yes, I am more than happy to do this percentage, and then I would have these household responsibilities, and if you can't happily come to an agreement, then you shouldn't be walking down anybody's aisle in anybody's year. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay. So my advice to you as we wrap up is that I highly recommend that the two of you get on the same page happily first, and then you can do all the little tests and tricks that we talked about in terms of, is he serious about the date, blah, 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 blah. But until you get to an agreement financially, the number one leading cause of divorce in the U.S. is finances. So do not walk down that aisle and commit yourself legally and to God and to anybody else yet until the two of you are in agreement in that area. That is paramount. That is the most important thing you can do before we even talk about what flowers we're getting for the wedding. Okay.
So should I wait until next year to see if he will pay for everything? Because what if the time comes and then it doesn't?
Do not wait until the time comes, because then you're already enrolled in school, you have no job, and then now what? Now we're not making payments on the condo,
Yeah.
right? So what it is that you're going to wait today, tomorrow, the next day, when the two of you are in a good place. Do not wait. Don't have it where you're already kind of in an argument or not talking. You're in a good place. You're happy. Things are going well. You cook him a nice dinner. You're watching television. You're drinking some wine. Hey, babe, I know that we have had arguments in the past about finances. I really want to make sure that we're on the same page in regards to what the expectations are for the both of us. This is not, baby, are you paying all the bills while I kick up my feet? What are the expectations for the both of us? How do you see me showing up financially? How do you see me showing up in the household? How do you see me showing up as a mom in the future, as a wife? What are your expectations of me, right? Put it back on you because we're in a relationship, right? So it's shared. Once he shares that with you, then okay, well, let me tell you how I envision my husband. This is what I see. Do you think that that's a fair trade? And you have to work that out. If the two of you don't work that out, there is nothing to talk about, AJ. Nothing. Talk about it ASAP, as soon as the two of you guys are good. If you're good tonight, talk about it tonight.
Okay.
Okay? I want to thank you for being on the show. I really appreciate your time. And please make sure you give us an update and let us know how it goes.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Have a good one. So as we transition to our closing conversation, I think a lot of us can learn so much from AJ and what she shared with us. Number one, so many of us are focusing on the wedding. She even actually at one point, I don't know if you guys heard, she interchanged the word wedding for marriage. Many of us mix up the two. The marriage is how we're going to be together, how we're going to show up for each other, potentially for the rest of our lives, right? The wedding is the party. And so we're focusing so much on the dates and our age, and I get it. I get it biologically, and men will never truly appreciate the pressures that we feel, first biologically and second from society, right? But we're talking about if they're walking down the aisle in 2024, 2025, we need to talk about, are we in agreement? Are we in alignment when it talks about what my responsibilities are, what your responsibilities are, who's showing up for who and how? And so we need to make sure that we're not chasing the ring. We have to make sure that we are not chasing the title of being a husband and a wife, and instead we are chasing harmony, that we're chasing alignment, that we're looking to make sure that both parties are on the same page happily so that we can build the foundation that leads to a happy marriage that lasts forever. So as we wrap up, I do want to thank you guys for listening. Please do not forget that you have to work for the life that you want. You have to work to be in alignment in your life so that you are in alignment in love. I want to thank our sponsor, Knox Brand Media, for sponsoring this episode. It's been another episode of Single Sessions. In order to be featured on the show, all you have to do is go to alignwithallison.com/podcast to tap in. Have a good one. Peace.